Hello, and welcome back to another gardening video. Now in this video I'm just going to give you an update and another tour of the garden now that it's early June. So a lot has changed. As you can see behind me, there's now kind of like a wooden barrier there, so we'll get to that later on. And currently my YouTube channel, it's around 210 subscribers, but when it hits 250 I'm going to do an exciting competition and giveaway. So if you want that to happen and you're not subscribed, then please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And that's about it, and let's get right into it. Right, so first up we're coming to the vegetable patch, and as you can see it's looking absolutely magnificent now. We've got these tall white flowering plants here, and these are broad beans, and if you look very carefully on some of the lower flowering branches, there's tiny little beans starting to show through. So that's really exciting, and then hopefully in a couple of months or so, in a few weeks or so, it will start beaning properly on the lower branches, and then I'll have lots of beans all the way up it over the next month or so. And then on this side there's a load of potatoes, and I put these in a couple of months ago, and since then a few of them have been hit by some slugs and snails, but on the whole they're doing really well. And then in this little part of the vegetable patch there's a tiny little row of parsley in this front bit here, and then there's a bare patch of earth, as you can see, and I had quite a late start in this part of the bed, that's why there's not that much here, but in this middle bare patch I planted a load of dwarf French beans a few days ago, so hopefully they'll start coming up quite soon. And you can already actually see there's a few little sprouts here and there, so they'll be fully going through in the next few days. And then at the back there, where there's the big kind of willow trellis fence, I've got a load of runner beans, and they've already started to climb up through it, and I'm hoping that the whole wall will eventually be completely covered in runner beans, and then when they have their beautiful orange flowers and then start beaning, it will just be absolutely wondrous. So that's basically what's happening with the vegetable bed right now. Then a little added thing that I added to this vegetable patch is, if you can see here, there's a tiny little sunflower plant, and at the moment it's quite small, but later in the year it should start, and it should get absolutely massive, and it'll grow right up the wall. And same with these other two little ones here. So just a nice little flowery bonus to the veg patch. Then a little to the side of my veg patch, you can see I've got my Silver Birch tree here, and he's looking absolutely amazing now that it's summer, and so he's in full leaf. He's got tons and tons of new growth. As you can see, there's literally a branch coming out of every single nook of every single branch, so there's branches upon branches, and each branch has grown at least in many inches, and it's spreading out in this whole area, and it's just such an amazing transformation to see compared to when in winter it was just this kind of tall, dead looking stick. So yeah, that's what the Silver Birch tree is like now. Now another very exciting transformation of a tree in the garden is the apple tree, which you can clearly see basically all around me. And since it blossomed a couple of months ago, which was absolutely magnificent, it's now, just in the last few days, taken on these little baby apples all over it. And that's really exciting, because that means that come August, September, we should have lots of little apples to eat, and these are eating apples as well, rather than cooking apples, so that makes it all the better. And it's just got like a full canopy of leaves now, rather than, remember again in the winter when it was just a big kind of empty, sticky tree like the Silver Birch was. And so yeah, another really nice leafy transformation. Now for the last of the, say, transformations is the rose bush, and if you remember I did a video, say, of pruning the rose bush, and I've done a little tiny update a bit later on where it grew a bit, but now it's absolutely exploded again in growth, so it's now a proper bush, as it should be, with tons and tons of leaves. And if you really look at it, there's literally loads and loads of rose buds now, and so I would say in a week or two the whole thing will be covered in pink blossoms. And if you want to see what that looks like, then go check out my Instagram, and in a couple of weeks when they bloom I'll be putting my photos on there. So you can see it's just so nice, and it will only get better in the coming weeks. So now we get to the flower bed, and if you remember, only a few months ago this was just an empty patch of earth with quite a lot of weeds in, and now we've added a few. If you saw my video on how to plant a flower bed, you will have seen that I planted a peony plant, some sweet peas, a couple of lupin plants, and as another thing I've got quite a few sunflower plants here that I grew from seed, and so they're just here in pots waiting to have a place to waiting for me to find a place in the garden to put them in. But they might just stay in pots and maybe be put out the front or somewhere else. But if you can see these two lupin plants here, this big lupin plant it's absolutely exploded in growth, and it's even got a massive flower spike at the very top, so that will come out soon. And then you can see the little lupin plant has a huge pink flower spike that's absolutely beautiful, and that came out about a week ago and it's still flowering very strongly. So I hope to see the same, not colour, but same kind of thing from this bigger plant. And then along the back, the sweet peas, they're growing really strongly, almost getting to the height when I can start training them through the trellis. And then we've got the peony plant, which is kind of looking the same as when I first planted it. And then I also have a little runner bean plant, which I just put into a gap in the flower bed, because I can then train it along the trellis and it will just fill that space nicely. And I had lots of spare seedlings from planting the runner beans in the vegetable bed. And then finally there's the sweet peas that are growing up the metal trellis, and they're not doing too well because I think they had too much of a transplant shock when I first planted them out, but they've kind of rebounded and sent up a lot of new growth at the bottom, so I'm hoping that enough will grow that I'll be able to train up and then flower. So yeah, that's basically the flower bed. And then you can see the lawn here looking lovely in this midday sunshine, with the shadow of the tree overshadowing it, and it's looking really lush and green, which is exactly what you want, so that's just looking as lovely as usual. Now in this kind of patio area you've got my tub of strawberries here, which is absolutely exploding again with growth, and you can see it's even sending out these little runners which it will then hope to turn into new strawberry plants, so that shows it's doing really well. And then we've got a little hydrangea plant here, which I'm going to plant out into the garden a little bit later on. And then another bigger hydrangea plant here that's actually flowering now with these beautiful bluey pink flowers. And then we've got my little oak tree doing really well again, got loads of lovely big leaves. And then the camellia tree got loads and loads of new growth. Again, everything's got new growth around now, but this is doing especially well, and the flowers are just coming to an end now, but they were giving us with lovely pink blossoms for about 1 or even 1 to 3 months, so that was really nice. Then if we come to the cold frames, I might not have had this big green plastic one last time, but I have it now because I was running out of space in the little one. So in here we've got some coriander and parsley plants. I planted out some of the parsleys in the vegetable bed, but here's just some of the excess ones. Then we've got some little Swiss chard plants, some little kale plants, and then some of the leftover runner bean plants that I've just kept just in case the ones that are in the vegetable bed fail or get eaten by slugs, then I can replace them with these backup ones. And then coming to this other one, we've got a little tray of lettuce, which isn't actually doing that well, so I think I'm not going to do lettuce in modules again, but that was a good lesson to learn. And then got some kale and a tiny little parsley plant over there. So that's it. We've finished the tour, and I hope you've found it quite enjoyable seeing the huge progress that everything's made, and really exciting progress as well, and beautiful flowers, lovely trees, amazing growth on the vegetables. So yes, remember, subscribe if you're new, and if you want to get to that competition / giveaway. And yeah, thank you for watching, and see you next time, and goodbye.